Throughout this book, I have been writing of spiritual growth as if it were an orderly, predictable process. It has been implied that spiritual growth may be learned as one might learn a field of knowledge through a PhD program. If you pay your tuition and work hard enough, of course you will succeed and get your degree. I have interpreted Christ's saying, "Many are called, but few are chosen," to mean that very few choose to heed the call of grace because of the difficulties involved. By this interpretation, I have indicated that whether or not we become blessed by grace is a matter of our choice. Essentially, I have been saying that grace is earned, and I know this is to be true. At the same time, however, I know that that's not the way it is at all. We do not come to grace. Grace comes to us. Try as we might to obtain grace, it may yet elude us. We may seek it not, yet it will find us. Consciously, we may avidly desire the spiritual life, but then discover all manner of stumbling blocks in our way. Or we may have seemingly little taste for the spiritual life, and yet find ourselves vigorously called to it in spite of ourselves. While on one level we do choose whether or not to heed the call of grace, on another it seems clear that God is the one who does the choosing. The common experience of those who have achieved a state of grace, on whom this new life from heaven has been bestowed, is one of amazement at their condition. They do not feel that they have earned it. While they may have a realistic awareness of the particular goodness of their nature, they do not ascribe their nature to their own will. Rather, they distinctly feel that the goodness of their nature has been created by hands wiser and more skilled than their own. Those who are the closest to grace are the most aware of the mysterious character of the gifts they have been given. How do we resolve this paradox? We don't. Perhaps the best that we can say is that while we cannot will ourselves to grace, we can by will open ourselves to its miraculous coming. We can prepare ourselves to be fertile ground, a welcoming place. If we can make ourselves into totally disciplined, wholly loving individuals, then even though we may be ignorant of theology and give no thought to God, we will have prepared ourselves well for the coming of grace. Conversely, the study of theology is a relatively poor method of preparation, by itself completely useless. Nonetheless, I have written this section because I do believe that the awareness of the existence of grace can be of considerable assistance to those who have chosen to travel the difficult path of spiritual growth. For this awareness will facilitate their journey in at least 3 ways. It will help them to take advantage of grace along the way, it will give them a surer sense of direction, and it will provide encouragement. The paradox that we both choose grace and are chosen by grace is the essence of the phenomenon of serendipity. Serendipity was defined as the gift of finding valuable or agreeable things not sought for. Buddha found enlightenment only when he stopped seeking for it, when he let it come to him. On the other hand, who can doubt that enlightenment came to him precisely because he had devoted at least 16 years of his life to seeking it, 16 years in preparation. He had to both seek for it and not seek for it. The Furies were transformed into the barriers of grace also precisely because Orestes both worked to gain the favor of the gods and at the same time did not expect the gods to make his way easy for him. It was through this same paradoxical mixture of seeking and not seeking that he obtained the gift of serendipity and the blessing of grace. This same phenomenon is routinely demonstrated by the manner in which patients utilize dreams in psychotherapy. Some patients, aware of the fact that dreams contain answers to their problems, will avidly seek these answers by deliberately, mechanically, and with considerable effort recording each and every one of their dreams in complete detail, and will literally bring to their sessions reams of dreams. but their dreams are of little help to them. Indeed, all this dream material may be a hindrance to their therapy. For one thing, there is not enough therapy time to analyze all these dreams. For another, this voluminous dream material may serve to prevent work in more fruitful areas of analysis. And then it is likely that all this material will be singularly obscure. Such patients must be taught to stop searching after their dreams, to let their dreams come to them, to let their unconscious make the choice of which dreams should enter consciousness. This teaching itself may be quite difficult, demanding as it does that the patient give up a certain amount of control and assume a more passive relationship to his or her own mind. But once a patient learns to make no conscious effort to clutch at dreams, the remembered dream material decreases in quantity, but it dramatically increases in quality. The result is that the patient's dreams, these gifts from the unconscious now, no longer sought for, elegantly facilitate the healing process that is desired. If we look at the other side of the coin, however, we find that there are many patients who enter psychotherapy with absolutely no awareness of or understanding of the immense value that dreams can be to them. Consequently, they discard from consciousness all dream material as worthless and unimportant. These patients must first be taught to remember their dreams and then how to appreciate and perceive the treasure within them. To utilize dreams effectively, we must work to be aware of their value and to take advantage of them when they come to us. We must also work sometimes at not seeking them or expecting them. We must let them be true gifts. So it is with grace. We have already seen that dreams are but one form or way in which the gifts of grace are given to us. The same paradoxical approach should be employed toward all the other forms, sudden insights, premonitions, and a whole host of synchronistic, serendipitous events. And to all love. Everyone wants to be loved, but first we must make ourselves lovable. We must prepare ourselves to be loved. We do this by becoming ourselves loving, disciplined human beings. If we seek to be loved, if we expect to be loved, this cannot be accomplished. We will be dependent and grasping, not genuinely loving. But when we nurture ourselves and others without the primary concern of finding reward, then we will have become lovable, and the reward of being loved, which we have not sought, will find us. So it is with human love, and so it is with God's love. A major purpose of this section on grace has been to assist those on the journey of spiritual growth to learn the capacity of serendipity. And let us redefine serendipity not as a gift itself, but as a learned capacity to recognize and utilize the gifts of grace, which are given to us from beyond the realm of our conscious will. With this capacity, we will find that our journey of spiritual growth is guided by the invisible hand and an unimaginable wisdom of God with infinitely greater accuracy than that of which our unaided conscious will is capable. So guided, the journey becomes ever faster. One way or another, these concepts have been set forth before by Buddha, by Christ, by Lao Tzu, among many others. The originality of this book results from the fact that I have arrived at their same meaning through the particular individual byways of my 20th century life. If you require greater understanding than these modern footnotes have to offer, then by all means proceed or return to the ancient text. Seek greater understanding, but do not expect greater detail. There are many who, by virtue of their passivity, dependency, fear, or laziness, seek to be shown every inch of the way and have it demonstrated to them that each step will be safe and worth their while. This cannot be done, for the journey of spiritual growth requires courage and initiative and independence of thought and action. While the words of the prophets and the assistance of grace are available, the journey must still be traveled alone. No teacher can carry you there. There are no preset formulas. Rituals are only learning aids. They are not the learning. Eating organic food, saying 5 Hail Marys before breakfast, praying facing east or west, or going to church on Sunday will not take you to your destination. No words can be said, no teaching can be taught that will relieve spiritual travelers from the necessity of picking their own ways, working out with effort and anxiety their own paths through the unique circumstances of their own lives toward the identification of their individual selves with God. Even when we truly understand these matters, the journey of spiritual growth is still so lonely and difficult that we often become discouraged. The fact that we live in a scientific age, while helpful in some respects, serves in others to foster discouragement. We believe in the mechanical principles of the universe, not in miracles. Through our science, we have come to learn that our dwelling place is but a single planet of a single star lost amid one galaxy among many. And just as we seem lost amid the enormity of the external universe, so science has also led us to develop an image of ourselves as being helplessly determined and governed by internal forces not subject to our will, by chemical molecules in our brain and conflicts in our unconscious that compel us to feel and to behave in certain ways when we are not even aware of what we are doing. So the replacement of our human myths by scientific information has caused us to suffer a sense of personal meaninglessness. Of what possible significance could we be as individuals or even as a race, buffeted about by internal chemical and psychological forces we do not understand, invisible in a universe whose dimensions are so large that even our science cannot measure them? Yet, it is that same science that has in certain ways assisted me to perceive the reality of the phenomenon of grace. I have attempted to transmit that perception. For once we perceive the reality of grace, our understanding of ourselves as meaninglessness and insignificant is shattered. The fact that there exists beyond ourselves and our conscious will a powerful force that nurtures growth and evolution is enough to turn our notions of self-insignificance topsy-turvy. For the existence of this force, once we perceive it, indicates with incontrovertible certainty that our human spiritual growth is of the utmost importance to something greater than ourselves. This something we call God. The existence of grace is prima facie evidence not only of the reality of God, but also of the reality that God's will is devoted to the growth of the individual human spirit. What once seemed to be a fairy tale turns out to be the reality. We live our lives in the eye of God and not at the periphery, but at the center of His vision, His concern. It is probably that the universe as we know it is but a single stepping stone toward the entrance to the kingdom of God. But we are hardly lost in the universe. To the contrary, the reality of grace indicates humanity to be at the center of the universe. This time and space exists for us to travel through. When my patients lose sight of their significance and are disheartened by the effort of the work we are doing, I sometimes tell them that the human race is in the midst of making an evolutionary leap. Whether or not we succeed in that leap, I say to them, is your personal responsibility and mine. The universe, this stepping stone, has been laid down to prepare a way for us, but we ourselves must step across it one by one. Through grace we are helped not to stumble, and through grace we know that we are being welcomed. What more can we ask?